Welcome to another Ask Melly segment where I answer your questions about the emotional cycles that you're experiencing so you can master your self-leadership and make the next chapter of your life magical. Now, today we're going to look at discomfort, specifically why it's important and what it is trying to tell you. Because discomfort, it's one of those emotions that we try and avoid. Let's face it, we avoid it at all costs. But it's actually it's a vital clue that our intuition is actually trying to tell us something. And it usually comes through in our body. So it's this connection between our intuition and our physical bodies that brings this feeling of discomfort, giving you a vital clue that something needs to happen. And the reason we kind of don't look at it is because our instincts is to make discomfort go away. And if you think about it, it's like if you sit cross-legged for too long, your legs go numb. It becomes uncomfortable. And your immediate body response is, I need to move. I need to get out of this position, because your body is saying there is not enough blood flow happening. Things could get worse. You need to move. So that discomfort, that uncomfortable feeling is actually a really good sign that something needs to change for your own well-being. And this happens on an emotional level as well, not just on a physical level. So what this discomfort is actually bringing up in you is a fight or flight response. So like I said, with that physical sensation, if it doesn't feel right, especially physically, it's usually a fight response. I need to do something. I need to move right now. I need to do something to make this uncomfortable sensation go away. But what's interesting when it comes to our emotions, it tends to become a flight response. So the moment we have that uncomfortable discomfort sensation in an emotional sense, our flight response appears to be triggered the most, and especially with the women that I work with. So how do we resolve this though? How do we move past this and actually stop seeing discomfort as the enemy? Because it's not. It is so not. It is this beautiful emotion that we need to acknowledge for the strength that it actually gives to us. So what do we need to do? I'm going to check my notes here. We need to acknowledge that discomfort within our bodies as a way for us to take action. It's a way for us to look at it and go, okay, I feel uncomfortable right now. There's discomfort. What action do I need to take? And I think just having that thought process immediately changes how you interact with that emotion within yourself, because it doesn't become something scary anymore. It just becomes a response for yourself to go, I need to do something now. What action do I need to take? But the question then becomes, what action? What action do you need to take? This is where the stages of self come into play, because the first thing we need to do is to actually look at what is the fear behind this discomfort. So we know discomfort is there. We need to take an action. What's the fear? Why aren't you taking that action? What fear has come up in the past? You need to find that fear and acknowledge it. So like I said with the example before, sitting cross-legged on the ground, and then your body gets uncomfortable. Maybe you get pins and needles. If you sit in that too long, that discomfort grows, and then that fear clicks in. What if I can never move out of this position again? What if my legs go so numb I can't feel them? And it's funny because sometimes they could be such trivial little fears, but they're enough that our mind and our bodies kind of go, what's going on? So the first thing you need to do, especially from that emotional level, is to look at that fear. Where you have uncomfortableness, discomfort, what is the fear behind that? And acknowledge it. You don't need to get lost in it. You don't need to go back to it, especially if it's a past situation. It's just acknowledge it for what it is. Then you need to forgive yourself. Example of sitting cross-legged. Forgive yourself for sitting cross-legged for too long. And it seems so simple when you say it, and yet it's something we don't seem to work through, because this emotion, when it comes up in us, it's just this immediate reaction to run away from it. to ignore it, get away from it at all costs. But then when you can forgive yourself for the fear that came up, you can move through it so much quicker, because after that forgiveness, we get to move into self-belief. And that's where the I am statements come in. And to me, that's where the strength really comes in. So you forgive, you address the fear, you forgive the fear, and then you go, I'm okay. This didn't hurt me. This didn't kill me. I can make this through. And if I sit cross-legged again next time and it happens again, I am able to do this process and get myself out of it and keep myself safe in the process. And then after that, we get to move into the future vision, the future possibilities. And it's actually kind of cool, because then you go, well, how else can I sit? Can I sit a different way so I don't get so uncomfortable next time? So those pins and needles and the bummus nummus doesn't come in again. And then you get to set your steps in action, because then you get to actually do it. And when you think of that from the physical perspective, it makes it so much easier to grasp, because we've all experienced that pins and needles. But when you look at that now from an emotional perspective, it can make it easier to bridge that gap. When you've got a discomforting emotion within you, what action is that asking you to take? Not sure? Where's the fear? What's the fear behind this? Where do I need to forgive myself? How am I going to convince myself that I can make this through, because I have in the past? What future possibility is there so I can deal with this differently next time? And then what steps and actions will I take? And it's really beautiful when you look at it from that perspective, because it makes it so much easier to move through your emotions, and especially discomfort. So the big thing I want you to get from this is that discomfort is not a bad thing at all. It is simply a sign from your intuition that something needs to change and action needs to occur, whether that be physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. To me, that is irrelevant. That discomfort is the sign that something needs to change, and your stages of self are there as your tool to help you move through it. So I'm going to leave it at that for this week, because as you guys know, I can talk about our emotions and the stages of self till the cows come home. I love, love, love this work. So if you need any help moving through your emotions, and specifically through your stages of self, feel free to view all things stages of self on the website MellyS.com.au. And don't forget to join us next week as I answer more of your questions about the emotional cycles you go through, so you can master your self-leadership and make the next chapter of your life magical. Love and kindness, everyone.